And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Master Kenneth. I'm with the Palladium Strike Team here at Texicon 2015, and I wanted to go over some things about Robotech Tactics, the tactical game that Palladium has produced based around the Robotech series. What they've produced so far is what is considered the original or the classic series, and this is the Robotech Defenders, the SDF-1 from Earth, battling the Zentradi forces that are trying to take the fortress. The starting miniature set includes several of the Veritech, which are capable of transforming to 3 different modes: aircraft, Guardian, and then Battleoid, to serve different purposes on the battlefield. The Zentradi use a uniform battle pod for their units, and one of the things that you see in this game is that the Zentradi forces are cheaper and easier to field than the Robotech Defenders. When you get the box and open it, one of the things that people have told me is that when they see the actual model sprues, that they feel that they're intimidated by it. People who have asked me what kind of build they're going to be looking at, I tell them it's equal to a master grade gun. But I'm going to show you some quick tricks that will help you. The first one is that you use a primer base of white for both the front and the back. Have 2 brushes handy, one for the wet, one for the dry, because if you get too much of the primer on, you can use the dry brush to clear it off. Removing the various pieces from the sprues can be very difficult. I have 2 specialty tools. I'm going to show you methods real quick. This is a pair of cloth shears. You can get them from any of the hobby stores. They are spring-loaded, so they pop back open for you, and you can close them. The thing about these is the blades are very sharp all the way up to the point and tip. When you look at the sprues, you will notice that there are several small pieces. For example, the heads, and some of these small energy weapons that are attached to the figure and to the various Zentradi figures as well. It has happened that when people are attempting to remove one of the heads, that they end up breaking one of these small pieces right along in here. This also repeats in some of the Zentradi pieces as well. We can't have open flame in here, but this is the solution. Using a candle, heat the tip of your X-Acto blade for about 10 to 15 seconds. Test the heat first on the plastic of the sprue. This will kind of give you an idea of how fast it's going to melt. Reheat and apply it to the sprue point of the location. It will actually melt through and not put shock through the plastic, and it's that shock of sawing through it or clipping it that can cause the pieces to break.
And is it important to hold the sprue flat on the ground like that when you do it?
Holding the sprue flat on the ground will help. It'll also keep you from burning yourself. This method does have the chance of burning. You want to be very careful. You want to have water nearby to cool off the tip. But this method will allow you to remove these smaller pieces with the heat rather than using force and causing shock.
Okay, that's actually a really good tip for plastic modeling in general.
Yes.
So
it's something that I learned back when I was putting together master level Gundams. The other thing I recommend is called pinning. There's a couple of ways to do it. You can get a pinning drill, but I have found that this particular resin is very resilient to pinning. It is not, however, to drilling. It is not, however, resilient to heat, as with the X-Acto blade. As you are putting the pieces together, the leg joints in this location here, these legs are separate pieces that are joined to a central piece underneath. It is separate from the battle pod itself. By heating the tip, and I use paper clips, by heating the tip, holding the leg, and pressing it into the joint location just enough to get it within the plastic. Use a Q-tip with water to super cool it. The plastic will actually constrict around the paper clip, holding it in place. You can then trim it to fit all the way through this base joint to the other side. Using the same method of heating and applying, you can do it to the opposite side leg, creating a hole. At that point, you can thread both of the legs into the bottom piece. You want to use a small dab of super glue on the exterior, not on the post, not on the paperclip post. For that, I recommend a glue called E600. It is a jewelry metal glue. It takes about 24 hours to completely cure. Using this process takes a bit of patience, but what you will end up with is a piece that you do not have to worry about the legs popping off or if it gets dropped, damaging it, that sort of thing. You use the same method on the two gun mounts. Using the paperclip heated, slide it up into the base of the gun mount, allow it to adhere. Use the same method to punch a hole through where the mounting is. You then apply E600, slide it in, and let the glue do the rest. This will prevent it from wiggling free out of the curved basin it's in. You can use the E600 as well on the wings for various parts and pieces. As you can see, I've used black highlights for the various parts of this Robotech Defender. And I do it with a Uniball pen. The Uniball pen tip is small enough to fit into the various crevices of the figure and apply a layer, an actual even layer of ink. When you're working on these, after you put your base coat on, you then want to decide what is going to be the common color of the Robotech and apply that color to all the pieces. Later on, as you assemble each piece and with the various parts, the heads, you can use the heat pin method to attach the heads, the forearms, and the shoulders actually into the model, and the same method as we did with the Zentradi, the legs of the Battloid. For the wings, I once again suggest the E600. There is a small slot for them to fit into. Just take a small dab of E600, apply it to the wing end with whatever you wish to use. I use just regular toothpicks, and slot them in. If you're concerned about them drooping, add a dab of the super glue prior to inserting them. That will make a quick lock, and then 24 hours later, your fig will be secure. It is important, especially for the Robotechs, that you assemble each leg, each arm, the body, and the head in separate parts, and then construct it as a whole. Don't complete one leg and attempt to attach it.
Can you tell us a little bit about gameplay?
Certainly. Gameplay for Robotech Tactics is a die-6 system for handling all issues of combat. With the start of the round, the players gather what is called command points. The Robotech Defenders get 1 command point for every model they have on the field, as well as any command units. The Zentradi only get command points for their leader or their recon units. From there, it is initiative roll, deciding who will go first, and pre-activation effects. Now, this is something the Zentradi have the ability to bring in reinforcements. That's when this occurs, and if you have any environmental effects. Now, when you roll initiative, if you lose, you can actually attempt to steal the initiative by expending command points. From there, we drop down to the movement phase, where you choose 1 squadron to activate. For your movement, you decide if they're going to engage in a combat action, whether it is a melee attack or a ranged attack. It's a die-6 roll plus either your gunnery skill or your piloting skill against the defender's defensive points. Highest wins, you score the damage, and they are marked down in just a regular count formation for the unit.
So it's not specific damages, it's just you take a certain amount of damage and then your unit is destroyed.
Correct. It's all one lump damage, which allows play to be quicker because you're only marking off the individual boxes. You're not hunting for locations to do so. There are various maneuvers for defense, dodging, attacks. There is also parrying melee attacks.
So the rules for this, the product is by Palladium, but the rules were written by Ninja Division.
The rules were created by Ninja Division.
But they seem to have brought in some of the various Palladium combat moves that Palladium role-playing game.
That are common in the role-play game system. The number of attacks, how you attack, your ability to defend, and how damage is resolved.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to explain to us, and I'm sure that the Facebook fan community is going to really be excited about the heating and pinning method you talked about, because I know that that has been a complaint about the miniatures. The Robotech RPG Tactics can integrate with the Robotech role-playing game.
Correct. We have used the tactics with the role-playing game for mecha combat. And it has worked beautifully with the individual characters having their specific specialty piloting skills, allowing them to push the units in the tactics game further than they would normally be able to go.
And it's pretty cool. Do you know offhand what the starter box is priced at?
The starter box is at $100, but with it comes, and I'll just show the back of the box here. With it comes 4 Destroids, entire squadron of Zentradi, which is over 12 figures, as well as 5 units of the Robotech Defender Veritex. I have one other suggestion for individuals out there. If you're mounting it on a flying post, use the heat pin method. Score the bottom of the piece, score the base, and apply your glue. If you have a chance beforehand or after, you can add a cardstock or paper template to allow you to keep track of what unit is what, rather than marking the unit itself.
Because in the different transformation modes, you could get confused as to who is what.
Who is who. Yes,
all right.
Very easy.
All right, well, thanks for the great advice and the little preview and the hobby tips. Those hobby tips are going to be valuable for any plastic modeler, not just Robotech. So we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and we will see you next time.
Game table.